Top five, top five.
What is up, home slices, and welcome back to the Sub Media Reviews platform, the show where we take a look at old movies, TV shows, and music from over 20 years ago and ask some key questions. Does it still hold up today, and is it worth revisiting? I'm your host, Kiara, and we are back with another off-season top 5 episode. Now, season 2 wrapped back in April, and while we are officially on hiatus, I made a promise that I wasn't just going to ghost y'all until season 3 pops off in October. So throughout the off season, I've been dropping top 5 collab episodes to help keep the content coming and tide you over until we kick off season 3 of the podcast. And today is no exception. So make sure you are subscribed, you have your notifications on so you don't miss anything that we have coming up before we get back to our regularly scheduled programming in the fall. Now, in this top 5 series, I invite a special guest to join me so we can count down some of our favorite media related things together. Last month, we did our top 5 TV moms in honor of Mother's Day. That was a really good conversation, so go check it out if you haven't seen it. But of course, this month is June, and we have to talk about TV dads. We got to give them their flowers. So today, we are counting down our top 5 TV dads. Now, my guest today is someone who you may have seen on the channel before. He came through earlier this year for our top 5 Black movies game show episode, so he's no stranger to sub media reviews. He has not one, but 2 platforms that you need to know about. Have You Seen That with T, as well as the Island of Relevancy. Please welcome back Terrance. Say hi, Terrance.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Yeah, it's a good day. Father's Day is coming up really soon,
It
and
is
you are a
tomorrow.
dad. Do you
I
have
am.
plans for Father's Day?
No, I'm the most chill and relaxed person on the planet. I just want to relax at home, have a nice meal. I mean, we may go out to eat, but I don't require it. For Father's Day, just leave me alone. Let me relax.
We love a good low maintenance dad.
Exactly. Like I don't need much.
Yeah, yeah. So, Terrence, I'm really happy to have you here. Can you tell the people a little more about what you've got going on over at your channels?
So on the Have You Seen That with T channel, I've kind of gone away from the long form movie reviews. I do a lot of out of theater reviews, straight out of the theater, in my car, in my truck. I mean, just straight shooting. Hey, should you go see this movie this weekend? I have not gone to see any movie this weekend because I'm going to take the kids probably next weekend to see Toy Story 5. It is
Oh,
insane at the
nice.
movie theaters here. Like going to see those movies, especially first weekend. The kids' movies are out of control, so we'll probably
Hmm.
go next weekend. And I'll do an out of the theater review of that with the kids because
Oh,
they
nice.
love talking into a camera. That is this generation's thing. But yeah, like with that channel, I do a lot of short form stuff. I drop a lot of shorts on TikTok, on a YouTube. Then on the Island of Relevancy, every Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, we do about 2 hours of just talking about WWE wrestling. Me and my co-host Frank, a guy from Philly that I met through the group, through the Discord group. We do just talking about wrestling. It's very fun, very interactive. We always get a few people in the chat just talking about what we love about wrestling.
Yeah, I love that. Frank did join me earlier this year for a top 5 episode where we talked about our top 5 sports movies. So,
Oh,
Frank
nice.
is a cool guy. I really like
Yeah.
him. But yeah, you all make sure you head over to Terrence's platforms, subscribe if you're interested. I love the short form content of like, hey, would I like this movie? Should I spend money to go see it? Should I wait, till it's streaming? I think those are all really helpful. So if you're interested in that content, if you enjoy wrestling, make sure you subscribe. I'll have all of the links down in the description for you. Now, let's get ready to talk about our top 5 TV dads. I usually like to warm up with the icebreaker question to kind of get us in the mood to talk about dads, okay? So, today's icebreaker is, what is your favorite dad joke? Typically, the cornier, the better. You go first, Terrence.
So I have one. There's one
Okay.
that I told my daughter when I want to say she was like 2 or 3, and we still run this joke to this day. She told it to my son. They crack up. The joke is, How does a cow get his entertainment? He goes to the movie theater, and that's oh my gosh! I said that to my daughter. She was crying laughing as a child. She thinks it's the funniest thing, and that's the one joke me and my son it cracks him up too.
Oh,
They
I love
find it
that.
hilarious. Others don't,
I
but it's
I
for
think it's
them.
very cute. I think it's very cute. You know, children have their own kind of senses of humor, and I love that. That's very sweet. Yeah. I enjoy dad jokes quite a bit. One of my favorites that I love that depending on how old you are, you may not even get it, but it's where does smart butter go?
Okay, I
On a
don't.
roll. Get it? I love that joke. And I feel like younger people may not get it because I don't know if honor roll is still a thing. Like,
I think they call it something different now.
it
Like it's
probably
like
is.
AB roll or something like that. I can't remember.
Yes. But back in the day, for me, it was honor roll when you were,
Yes.
a particularly smart child and you got good grades. They would give you a certificate or something that said honor roll. But yeah, smart butter goes honor roll.
It's a good one.
It
It's a good
is. It
one.
is. I love that one. Another one that is kind of dark that I like is like, why did the koala bear fall out of the tree? Because he
No
was
idea.
dead.
Man,
Just, you know.
my kids are very morbid with something like that, like death. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a YouTube, but like they're just everything goes extreme. So that they would find humor in that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Laffy Taffy. Dad jokes on Laffy
They
Taffy's.
don't even do that anymore, do
No,
they?
I recently bought Laffy Taffy's. They still had
Or maybe
jokes
they're
on
on the
them.
outside, not the inside. Because they used to be inside the wrapper, I thought. Like when you opened it up, it would be a joke inside. But
Huh.
now they're on the back. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't remember them being on the inside. I always remember flipping over the little flap and then being under the little flap in the packaging. But shout out to Laffy Taffy's.
Shout out to
Love a good
Laffy
dad
Taffy.
joke. Oh, banana. Do you like the banana Laffy Taffy?
I used to. I don't anymore because at some point in Germany, I bought on Amazon a huge jar of just banana Laffy Taffies, and I ate it. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm good. I got it out my system. I was just like, after like eating number 500 banana, it was just like, no, let's get a variety in there.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. Banana and grape, those are my top two
Top tier.
flavors.
That's where my daughter comes and just steals the purple ones. She loves grape. She,
Yes, yes, love that. All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get into our criteria because I think it says a lot about how we each approach this topic and can really help inform, the way that we're actually thinking about it. So I'm curious if we are thinking about it the same or a little bit differently. And before we get into the criteria, I want to make it clear that when we say TV dads, we're not really limiting ourselves strictly to biological fathers or stepfathers, because whether it's reality or on TV, some of the most impactful male figures in a child's life aren't necessarily the ones who share their DNA. So today I want us to open the door a little wider. And, if a man showed up and poured into a child's life and made a real difference, I think that he qualifies as TV dad. So
for sure.
that's how I'm
Okay.
thinking about it. Yeah. Okay. So for me personally, my criteria and what I was looking for, I felt like a great TV dad is someone who you genuinely would look up to, someone who knows how to be firm and when to be gentle, someone who shows up for their family, protects them, and is a positive figure, not just for their own children, but also in the community. So basically, I'm asking myself, would the kids on the show be lucky to have this man as their father? And the other thing that I added to my criteria after I started building the list that I it kind of came out of nowhere for me as a realization is like, how does he treat the mother of his children? Because I feel like I genuinely believe that how a father treats his partner has a trickle down impact on everything in the household. So I think it is extremely difficult for someone to be a good dad if they mistreat the mother of their children. So that's also a part of my criteria. So yeah, Terrance, what about you? What were you thinking about as you were developing your list?
So really what I was thinking about was like the cultural impact of that father on
Okay.
one father's young black boys. Like, were they good people? Like
Okay.
the character, the character. I have to have a disclaimer. And
Mm-hmm.
just like their cultural impact on society, right? Like there were TV dads who was everyone's dads. The people who didn't have dads, they were
Mm-hmm.
the people. They were the men that you wanted to be your dad. Like that was the biggest criteria. It was like, would I want this person to be my father? Like, would
Mm-hmm.
I not saying my father isn't a good man, but like as I watched TV growing up, did I want Mr. Drummond to be my dad? No, but at the same time, yes, because he was really rich. But, but but that was really my criteria. Like, were they good people, and could I see myself following this person? Kind of like what you said.
Okay. Okay, for sure. Yeah. I also want to ask, is your list ranked or is it in no particular order?
It's ranked, but I would say like all of them really are close. Like it's really hard for
Okay.
me to really say this person is so much better than this other person. But I
Yeah.
do have it
Yeah.
ranked.
I do have mine kind of partially ranked. Like I think there are some dads that like might float, in
Mm.
between a few spots, but I feel similarly to you that for the most part, it's mostly ranked. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, well, it's time for us to get into our top five lists. So we're going to start by both stating our number fives, number fours, and so on and so forth. So let's get into it. So I am going to kick us off with my number five pick, who is Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Did you watch that show at all?
No.
No, okay. No worries. For those of you who don't know, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a story based on a series of graphic novels. And in the world at this time, there is a war raging. There are four different nations. There are the Water Nation, the Air Nation, the Fire Nation, and the Earth Nation. And there is one person who becomes the Avatar who is able to bend all of the elements at once. He disappears for 100 years, and during that time, the Fire Nation takes an opportunity to start attacking the other nations so that they can rule the world, essentially. And so Uncle Iroh is a part of the Fire Nation, and he essentially was next in line to become the leader of the Fire Nation after the war started. And interestingly enough, his role as kind of a father figure on the show is more about how he interacted with his nephew than his own son. So not technically a dad in the traditional sense on the show, but his own son, Lu Ten, passed away during the war, and something about that loss fundamentally broke him and changed who he was. He went from being this feared war general and, being the next person in line to rule the Fire Nation to becoming a very spiritual and grounded and wise, loving figure, like more so than a lot of people that I've seen on television. And his relationship with his nephew Zuko really shows the fatherly aspect of him. Zuko is angry, he's disgraced, he's this hothead teenage prince who's out here chasing the Avatar, trying to restore his honor. And Uncle Iroh just loves and guides him through this whole process. Zuko makes a lot of mistakes. Zuko betrays him probably multiple times, and Zuko goes back and forth over and over again making the wrong choices, and Uncle Iroh never stops pouring into him. He's always patient with him. He's there with wisdom, tea, a bad joke, and, a firm hand when he needs it. So Uncle Iroh was voiced by Mako, I think I'm pronouncing that right, who passed away before the show ended. And I just wanted to take a moment to honor that because his voice brought so much warmth to that character. And there's also a song that he sings in the show called Leaves from the Vine. It's a tribute to his fallen son. And y'all, that's a tearjerker. It's such a tearjerker to hear him sing that song. I actually did a cover of that song and shared it on social media where I sang it in Anthony Hamilton's voice. It's such a beautiful song. Have y'all ever thought about what Leaves from the Vine from Avatar: The Last Airbender would sound like if Anthony Hamilton sang it? Well, leaf from the vine, falling so slow, like fragile tiny shell, drifting in the foam. Brave soldier boy, come marching home. Brave soldier boy, come marching home. I've been waiting for an opportunity to debut my Anthony Hamilton impression. It's not all the way there because my voice is not as raspy or deep as his, but I think I captured the spirit, okay? And when that Leaf from the Vine song, when Uncle Iroh sings that in Avatar: The Last Airbender, I have to fight back tears, okay? But thinking about Anthony Hamilton singing it cheers me right back up. I really enjoy it. But overall, Uncle Iroh is proof that fatherhood isn't necessarily about biology, but it really is about who shows up and who loves you through your worst self until you become your best self. And so Zuko, his nephew, eventually becomes the Fire Lord. He ends the war. And I feel like that's mostly a result of his uncle's influence, which basically means that Uncle Iroh low-key kind of saved the world and his own people. So Uncle Iroh is top tier TV dad energy for me.
Wow. So after that, I've realized that I've not done that much research. 'Cause you, you went into I feel ill prepared, but
do not worry.
That is a great TV dad. I would say my number 5 is Jefferson Pierce from Black Lightning. Don't know if you're familiar with Black Lightning. It was on.
I haven't watched it, but I know who you're talking about. Cress Williams, is that who plays him?
Yes, Cress Williams. Yes. I was extremely skeptical of this show being made. CW had the Arrowverse, you had Green Arrow, you had the Flash, Supergirl, and it felt like, okay, we have to make a black character. Let's make Black Lightning. And it could have been a parody of itself. It could have been, because Supergirl was so lighthearted. The Flash was so lighthearted. The Arrow was so dark. I didn't know where this would fit in. But we got a story. Jefferson Pierce, he was a high school principal. He was a divorced dad. He had 2 young girls, teenage girls. I think Anessa was in her 20s. But he was navigating, one, being a superhero or being a retired superhero, dealing with, I can't remember the name of the city that he was in, dealing with all of the society's ills. Because this was during I just drew a blank of pretty much all of the police violence that was going on in all across the country. It kind of came out during the infancy of Black Lives Matter, that whole cultural phenomenon. And what they did in this show was they just created this character. I knew nothing of the Black Lightning character. I thought he would be just a token black guy in a suit beating up bad guys. And they not only created this, wonderful society, wonderful villain, Tobias Whale, one of the greatest TV villains, probably one of the greatest comic book villains of all time. But in the midst of all of that, Jefferson Pierce was just a father, right? Him and his wife, or him and his ex-wife ended up getting back together. He never like it was, you knew why they got a divorce. It had nothing to do with their lack of love for each other. It was just he was a superhero, right? He's doing all these things, so much trauma that he went through, not only losing people he loved, but just being a superhero, being the one person everybody looked up to, the one person everybody went to. His family kind of fell by the wayside, and we see that in a lot
Mm,
of like superhero shows where you're saving the world, but you're not saving your little girl, right? You're
right.
saving millions of other people, but you're not saving the person at home. But this shows picks up, years into his retirement, and he puts the suit back on, but he trains his two daughters who end up having powers, and like through their development, through their training, like he becomes a better father, and he shows like you can make mistakes, you could be who you are and still be there for your kids, still be a great father. And Cress Williams is he's such a great actor. He brought such gravas, as they say, to this character, and so much realness, so much earnestness to his portrayal of Jefferson Pierce. Just a great character. And I will say, I didn't know. I just assumed this was black TV dad. So all of my all of the people on my list are black dads
No worries whatsoever. Okay, this is your list. You do with it what you want.
for sure.
I do have some non-black dads on my list. The Uncle Iroh is clearly Asian. So
Yes.
yes. So I think that's really interesting. I have no knowledge of the Arrowverse. I'd only seen the commercials or whatever. But I was doing some research for my own list, and I did see Jefferson's name come up. I will say Cress Williams played Scooter in Living Single,
Living single. Yep. Yeah.
and I thought he was so beautiful. And when you said that, he was divorced from his wife and they got back together, I was like, he did the same thing with Khadijah. What is him breaking up and getting back with people? But it sounds like he's a fantastic TV dad. I think if I were ever to check out anything in the Arrowverse, it would be Black Lightning. But similarly to you, again, with no context or anything, I was like, is this going to be corny? I don't know. That's kind of the feeling I was getting. Like, it's
Yeah.
CW, what's the quality going to be like? But it's reassuring to hear that there's a show that you enjoyed with a good Black TV dad. So,
And it had a great soundtrack. Like it
oh,
just brought
nice.
everything together. Like it really was for us. Like, and you could tell there were black writers in the room writing this for a middle age, like somebody I want to say he's probably older than me, black man just facing society's ills, and they really did bring a lot of current events in there, at the superhero scope.
Okay. Okay, I love that. I might actually check it out. I'm looking for a new show to get into. So, cool. All right, lovely. Well, Terrance, let's go on and move into our number 4 picks. Who is your number 4 top TV dad?
So my number 4 pick is Andre Johnson, aka Dre from Blackish, played by Anthony Anderson. Now, I will say I remember Anthony Anderson for his goofy roles. Like he was always a supporting
Yes.
guy. He was always super corny in everything he was in. Like he always played the bumbling guy. Like in Barbershop, he was one of the guys who would rob, trying
Yes.
to steal the ATM.
That ATM, yeah.
Um, and Blackish came along, and I didn't watch Blackish when it first like initially came on. I binged it, and when I fell in one Tracy Ellis Ross, just Tracy Ellis Ross. I don't know what else to say. That woman is just all of it.
Yeah.
And Anthony Anderson as a father, I was just like, oh, this guy's gonna be corny, and which he
Yes.
was, in such a great way. Like as a dad, like he was that
Yes.
dad. He was every dad, right? He wasn't a superhero. He was successful, but he wasn't just like. I mean, he portrayed. He thought he was. He thought he was the coolest person in every room he went into, but he would always get humbled because you're just not, right. Like your
Yes.
wife is the surgeon. She's that person, you're the dad, but at the same time he still was the father, he still was the husband, he still led his family. He still let her lead when she was supposed to. They were just great episodes. The kids were the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Junior was such a goofy character who I
I love
absolutely
Junior.
loved. He is so funny. And his interactions with Dre just were iconic, like Marseille Martin, the young adult. I don't remember any of these kids' names. I wish I did, but
Diane?
that might have been. I can't remember. I can't
Felt
remember
like
her,
it was an
but the
old lady
twin brother.
name.
Yeah, yes, but she acted
Diane and
like an old lady.
Jack.
Like she. That sounds right.
I think
It,
so.
it all sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember Junior. Um, but just and Lawrence Fishburne is his father, right? He
Uh-huh.
the anti Dre, like he was
Mm-hmm.
the complete opposite. He was like the old school dad, like he really
Yes.
was that old school, dad who just kind of did his own thing, who didn't ruin Dre, right? He actually Dre saw what not to do
Mm-hmm.
when he had his kids, and he did the right thing. And Blackish, I don't think gets enough credit for being the wonderful show it was, just portraying, a black family, no negative stereotypes. There were stereotypes in the show, but those were used to, they Kenya
In a very
Barris is just
self-conscious way. Like
yes.
a
Yeah,
to be demonstrative of how ridiculous it is to have
correct.
these
Correct.
stereotypes.
Heavy on
Yeah.
the satire, right?
Yes. Yes.
It satirized like the stereotypes that you thought of black families, and it kind of, because we're not a monolith. Like every black
Mm-hmm.
family isn't a struggle, like aren't struggling. Every black family isn't a single parent household. Like it just showed that how full we are as a community, how full we can be, as a community. And it just was a wonderful show. And he was a great dad because of how simple he was, like
Mm-hmm.
how honest I felt like they wrote him. Like he wasn't just this boisterous, person. He was a real, like he felt real. Like
Mm-hmm.
I felt him as a character. And,
Yeah.
and I just thought it was fantastic. I thought he was a fantastic dad.
I agree with you. Dre actually made my honorable mentions list, but Andre is a very interesting dad. He's present in there for his family, but I also love the flaws that
Mm-hmm.
we also
Yeah.
see in him of him being kind of ridiculous. Like kind of
Yes.
kind of ridiculous, kind of a goofball, making messes that he has to go behind and clean up,
Right.
and I love the realism of it and the honesty, kind of what you were saying. I also really enjoy them showing him at work as a person who works in
Yes.
corporate America, like dealing with the dealing with the
Yes.
microaggressions and things along those lines. Of course, it's never been anything that bad. You mentioned satire and everything, but I really enjoyed that show, and I think Dre is very deserving to be on the list. So I think that's a great pick.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about my number 4. I don't know if you watched this show or have any experience with it, but my number 4 is Phil Dunphy from Modern Family, played by Ty Burrell. Have you watched Modern Family at all?
I have not.
Okay, no worries. But
I'm one
Modern
of the few people who have never watched Modern Family because it's a very popular show.
It is. It is. I really enjoyed Modern Family. I only watched maybe the first 4 or 5 seasons. So as the show goes on and everyone gets older, I don't have a lot of context there. So my understanding, I'm gonna preface this is early in the show. I don't know where the character goes after that. But I really love Phil Dunphy in this show, okay? He's a real estate agent. He's good at his job. He provides a good life for his family, which includes his wife, Claire, as well as their 3 children, Haley, Alex, and Luke. But I think what stands out about him is that he is just genuinely, earnestly himself at all times. He is a goofball. in a way that makes like the other adults in the family, especially his father-in-law, Jay, just kind of roll their eyes at him. He's like always positive and optimistic, but I just find it really endearing. I just enjoy that about his personality. I love that he has this golden retriever energy. He's like warm and enthusiastic. He's ready to, have fun. But when the moment calls for it, he can flip the switch and he can turn on, Papa Bear Phil. And he shows up and it catches everybody off guard because he's so used to, they're so used to him being the fun, easygoing version of himself. But there's always this really like loving and protective element of him that can come out when it needs to come out. But I love that he chooses to have a positive outlook on life. He leads with love and joy. And I just really respect that. I love Phil's overall kind of just smiley, happy personality. And it's just, who wants to be around a grumpy dad? Like, you could just feel the kind of love for his family and the dedication to his family coming off of him. And there was one line that he said that like had me crying, laughing. I think the oldest girl was going off to college or something, and he had made her some type of scrapbook or something along the lines with like life advice in it. One of the pieces of life advice was that Black women always make the best sweet tea, and I just thought that was so funny. I thought that was hilarious. And I'm like, I really enjoy Phil. He's nuts and he gets into crazy situations, but he just so loves his family. I think the only thing that I would ding him on is that he kind of has this weird, he kind of fawns over his father-in-law's wife, Gloria. It's played by Sofia Vergara. And I'm like, it's kind of weird. Kind of weird, but overall, Phil Dunphy is a fiercely loving husband and a present and caring father, and I just really enjoy him so much, especially in contrast to his father-in-law, who is very old school dad. There's no crying in baseball. Like, he doesn't have that warmth to him, and you get to see the contrast between Phil and Jay throughout the show, and I just love Phil. Yeah. It's so sweet.
Everyone tells me to watch Modern Family. It's so many seasons too. It's like once I start, I have to finish. I think it's like 12 seasons. Might be 10, 11, 12 seasons. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. But it's one of those shows I feel like because I watch shows to go to sleep. Like, and I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine probably for like the last 3 months and getting through maybe a season every month because I would fall asleep on an episode, restart it. And that's a show that I've watched probably 5 or 6 times over already. But that I think I might add that in there because it, from the scenes I've seen, it does seem like a very fun show, very funny show, very warm show as well throughout the comedy.
Yes, I really enjoy Modern Family. It's kind of like, did you watch This Is Us?
Love This Is Us. Top 3 shows of all time.
If This Is Us didn't take itself too seriously, like Modern Family is probably what it would be. I have a lot of opinions on This Is Us. I actually shared a few of them on the last Top 5 episode that we did about TV moms. But it's one of those shows where like I watched it, I was deeply impacted by certain elements of the show. Like there were moments where I was crying, boohoo tears and all of that stuff. But by the end of the show, I was like, I don't like these people.
Really?
I don't like this family.
There were some characters who overstayed their welcome. But for the most part, I really, really love that show. Like it left a mark, I would say.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of it was, I don't like that they glazed over Jack's alcoholism. Like I didn't really like the mom. I was like, okay now.
Which mom? You talk about Mandy Moore?
Yes.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to watch his show again.
Wow. So how far did you get?
I watched the whole thing.
Oh, you watched the whole thing? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I was saying in the last episode that I had to watch the whole thing so I could see Mandy Moore's character pass away. Like, I needed to get through it. I cannot.
That's just watching for them to die. Jesus, that's a reason to watch. That's
Had to get through it. Had to get through it. Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Crazy family. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our number 3 picks. Okay. So I'll go first this time. My number 3 TV dad, Carl Winslow from Family Matters, played by Reginald Vell Johnson. Now, Carl Winslow is a black police officer, in a 90s sitcom, which I kind of wonder how that would play out, today.
In Chicago. They were in
right.
Chicago too. Like,
Right.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, with the support of the other adult members of the household, he managed to have a middle-class family life in Chicago in the early 90s, which I think is quite the feat. If we think about, I was talking about last time when we talked about TV moms, it's like we have Good Times where we have family living in poverty. We have Family Matters, we have middle class family, and then we have upper class Huxtables, And so I love that Family Matters showed a middle class family. But Carl, as a dad and a family man, is genuinely pretty good. Like, he has a multi-generational household. He has a wife, Harriet, that he really loves. He has 2.5 kids, Eddie, Laura, and a disappearing Judy. And and to add to it, we have Carl's mom and sister who are also living with them, as well as his little nephew. They all live there. This is a full house of people, okay?
That is a full house of people.
Yes,
Man.
absolutely. Yes. But he works hard. He provides for them. He shows up for his family. And for him to have maintained his sanity living next to Steve Urkel for all those years is nuts. Okay. He low-key deserves a medal. But he does get one big ding from me as a dad, because I think Carl did not protect Laura from Steve Urkel's relentless pursuit. Steve Urkel harassed this lady for years on this show, and I think that Carl should have protected her better, like by locking the door. This man was just walking up in their house,
Just
like
walking, yeah. I'm pretty
Also-
sure some days Laura wake up and he's just standing there like
exactly. And it's like, you're a police officer. You can do something about this. Yeah. So that's a miss for me. Okay. I think Laura deserved a little better on that. But outside of that, Carl, I think, is a stand-up guy. There's, this episode where he goes to bat for Eddie after he gets racially profiled by another officer, which we can argue about how effective that is, but I think even just the idea of a police officer checking their peer for their bias is important. So Carl at his core is a good provider and protector of his family. And even though he has his goofy moments where he's very nonsensical and he has certain issues and he can't stand Steve Urkel, I think he really shows up and is actually a father figure to Steve as well, who, is his neighbor. So Carl,
who doesn't seem to have a father. Like we
doesn't have any parents because where
I don't think we've met his parents at all in any episode. Like
who is his adult? Who is his guardian? Yes.
Man built a cloning machine in his basement. Like
yes. Like, no guidance, no adult supervision.
Nah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Well, Terrance, what's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick, another infamous black sitcom dad, Philip Banks, aka Uncle Phil. He, like, for all of the things that all of these other, like, we've had iconic black, Carl Winslow, Cliff Huxtable, all of these like iconic black dad. Like Uncle Phil was, like you said, you don't want a grumpy dad, but he was the grumpy dad, right?
Yes.
He was like he was extremely stern. He was extremely firm. He didn't take anything from Will. He wanted to give Will a better life. He didn't Will wanted to be a car salesman, right? Drop out of school and be a car
Mm-hmm.
salesman. What are you doing? Like, Uncle Phil, a lawyer. He just was the Rock, right? And even I don't know if you watched the rebooted Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't remember the actor who played him in the reboot, but he was just as great of a father. Like that character himself, he just wanted what was best for his family and did everything necessary to give them, I don't know if it's what he never had, but he wanted to give them a better life. He wanted to provide for them, to make sure that they never wanted for anything and they had enough tools to be successful in their own right. Even though Hillary was Hillary, Carlton was Carlton, but Carlton was like laser focused and he wanted to be like Phil. Like
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to be his dad. He wanted to please his dad, right?
Yes.
And just some of the moments in that show, just the iconic, how come he doesn't love me? Like just him always being there. He gave Will crap. He threw Jazz out the house every chance he got, but he always was there for his family. Like he always showed up, right? They hustle Will and Carlton out of whatever money at a pool hall.
At
He
pool
shows
hall.
up and,
Mm-hmm.
and he always was there, right? And just the presence, his presence, right?
Yes.
Whether it's grumpy, whether it's supportive, he just was there, right? He,
Yeah.
like, no matter what, he never wasn't present when he needed to be present. And he was just a strong, like, very strong and not overbearing father who just did what he needed to do to make sure his family was taken care of. And that, to
Yes.
me, is the most commendable thing of it all, right? Yes, they lived in Bel Air, they had a mansion, they had a butler, but just him being there no matter what. It could have easily been Jeffrey raising those kids, but him and how did I just draw a blank on the wife's name?
Vivian.
Vivian. Oh, whoever played Vivian, like I mean, just a wonderful family. But Philip Banks was the patriarch for real, and not in an overbearing way, not in a I make the rules way, because Vivian really did kind of run that house, but as it is in most cases, although people don't want to admit it. Um, but yeah, he was an iconic black father, iconic TV father. Period. Just the top three. It gets real murky for me. Who could be number one? But he's my three.
I love that. Phil is also on my list, so I'm not gonna say too much, but I do want to point out the part where you mentioned him being grumpy. It's like he was there for his family, but he wasn't always happy about it. Like
Yeah,
I
yes, yeah.
think
I
that
mean,
kind
he just
of
work, just come home from work, and then Will's in some other, like, just creating chaos in the house. Like I get it. Like
yeah,
I get it. But
yeah.
yeah, he was there though.
For sure, for sure. I love Uncle Phil, who is another character who is a father figure to a child that technically is not, biologically his own child.
Mhm.
So I won't go too much more into that because he is on my list. But I totally agree with you. So I think we got our first overlap so far, I think.
Mm.
Okay, cool. Terrance, let's talk about your number two. Who is your number two pick?
My number two, the controversial pick, Heathcliff Huxtable, aka Cliff Huxtable. Just, I mean, if you grew up in the '80s, the Cosby Show was everything. Like I mean, even in my house, my kids have watched the Cosby Show. They know nothing of the person.
Hmm.
They're too young to understand any of that stuff. But and they think the show is boring, which I find hilarious. Uh, but just he once again, Claire ran the house, right? Claire, like, let's be clear.
Yes.
Claire really was the sternness. Like, she would send
Yes.
him to go talk to your kids, right? Like, go be the father.
Before I had to come in
But
there.
exactly, like, if she had to come in, you already know it was game over. right? If the kids saw it, like they already knew. Theo knew if she came and talked to him, it was lights out, right? Cliff, the iconic the Monopoly money scene, which boy, like is one of the greatest scenes in one of the realest scenes, showing, giving Theo the money and just taking it all back, right? Like, and just you think
Mhm.
it's gonna be good if you get this minimum wage job. You don't need education, and I love that about that series where we meet young Theo. I'm assuming he's like a freshman in high school, and then the last episode he
Okay.
graduates college, right? Like it just that full circle moment, and just once again, like Heathcliff or Cliff was America's dad. You couldn't grow up in the 80s and get away from it, right? Cosby Show was like the number one show. Everybody wanted him to be there. He was funny, he was witty, he had so much heart and soul. Like he really loved his family, even though that family kept growing for some strange reason. Like every time he got stale, somebody else showed up. We get
Yes,
Sandra and Elvin. Then we get Denise coming back with I can't remember Martin. I think that was his name. The
I think
Denise's
so.
husband and Raven Simone. Like, but at the center of it all was always Claire and Cliff. Right? They
Yes.
just were it. Right? That was the first positive because we grew up. Good times. Sanford and Son, a guy running a junkyard, and you know, we did have the Jeffersons, but I would not say George Jefferson was a great father. Like he, he, he was on a lot of lists that I looked up, and I was like, why would you put George at just because he was a dad doesn't make him a good dad? He was
Agreed.
like George Jefferson was the antithesis of like old school dad. That's all I'll say. He was
Yeah.
an very old school
I feel
father,
the
but
same way
like
about Fred Sanford.
yes, oh, extremely. Like just
Yes.
just calling his son a big dummy every day.
Yes.
But yeah, like Cliff was not that, right? He was the anti that. He was very warm. He was very caring. He spoke to his kids. His word was the last word. Like my word is, it's my word. I brought you in this world. I'll take you out, which is one of the greatest lines.
Yes.
That like his word was it, but at the same time, he let them grow. He let them make mistakes, and he was always there to support them when they made those mistakes. To teach the lesson of, hey, I probably did the same thing when I was younger. Just a great character, iconic character. Unfortunately, life was life, right? In
Yeah.
reality, I can blur. I want to say in that instance only, I can separate the two because of what he meant to the black, not even just the black community, to the world. Like the Cosby Show meant so much to all of America in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right along there with you. I'm gonna go ahead and go into my number two because it is also Heathcliff Huxtable from the Cosby Show, who of course was played by Bill Cosby. And of course we gotta give the disclaimer because it's like, it's Bill Cosby, and we know what's been going on with him in the past few years, things that have come to light. And of course, the things that he did were horrific and inexcusable and should have never happened. But I think in this instance, like you said, separating the art from the artist in this particular moment as we talk about his impact and the impact that the show made, like you said, on a global level, I think is important because Cliff Huxtable was a different type of dad, one that we hadn't seen before, especially as a black person. As a person who was born in the 90s, for me, recognizing the impact of Bill Cosby didn't come, or Heathcliff Huxtable didn't come until much later in my life when I was like an adult and I watched the series all the way through. And I was like, oh my gosh, I understand why people love this show. But the thing that I think really helped me to understand how impactful the show was at some point as an adult, I was also watching through Golden Girls. And there's an episode of Golden Girls where they have a neighbor that they don't like and nobody likes this neighbor. And that neighbor ends up passing away. And so the ladies parents decide to come together to throw a funeral for her because they feel like it's not right for, like, even though we didn't like her, she deserves to be buried. And so they go to the funeral home and they give her like the cheapest casket, and and the guy is like, when do we want to have the service? And they're like, hey, nobody gonna be there, so let's just do it on a random day, a Friday or whatever. And it was like, well, you know what? It needs to be over before the Cosby Show comes on. And I was like, the Golden Girls are mentioning and watching the Cosby Show, and these are white older ladies, and it's like, the show made a big impact even beyond the Black community. So it was a very big deal, which is why I don't want what we know about Bill Cosby to really tarnish that, even though it's almost inextricable. But yeah, Heathcliff as a character, a cultural image, was really groundbreaking. And I think that we have to hold those two things at the same time, even if it's uncomfortable. But Heathcliff was an OBGYN, which is in hindsight a bad thing. Like, yikes.
Didn't even.
Yikes, y'all.
Until this moment, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
He delivers babies. I didn't even think like, yes, he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But as a fictional father, he was extraordinary. 5 children, Sandra, Denise, Theo, Vanessa, and Rudy. They're all at different stages of life, which I think is really done on purpose. Like, Sandra was an adult basically when the show started. Yes. And Rudy was right. Like Rudy was a child. So the age difference was probably 17-ish years, maybe more, between Rudy and Sandra. Yeah. But I think it made for like a very diverse show because you have, I'm dealing with my adult children. I'm also dealing with this very young child, and all of the children in between. We get to see them at these different stages. And eventually we get more younger people who join as the time goes on, and we get to see, Claire and Cliff become grandparents, and we get to see the whole family life cycle. One of the things that I really enjoyed about the show is in the moments where Claire and Cliff are interacting with each other, you can see how much they really love and like each other, which is another element of the criteria of like, how do you treat the mother of your children? What is your relationship with her? And that was something that was very important to me. And I think it was a household that ran on communication instead of fear. And I think one of the kind of fascinating things about Cliff as a TV dad is that he modeled what we probably today would call gentle parenting. Mm-hmm. Technically in a Black household on primetime television. There were no belts. There were no real threats of physical discipline. They had real conversations with their children to help guide them, which as a person who grew up in the South with corporal punishment is refreshing. Okay. But the conversations they had with them were stern. They were clear. They were hilarious. And like you said, he popularized the phrase, I brought you to this world and I can take you out. And it was more comedic than like an actual threat. But that's like a Black household staple. But yes. Even then it was delivered with this kind of, theatrical flair. He was emotionally intelligent. He knew when to lead and when to step back and let Claire have the floor, similar to what you talked about earlier. And, he really loved his wife and his children. And I love the chemistry of the whole family. Like, they really cared about each other. We can tell. And so what the Cosby Show did culturally for Black families, for non-Black families who were watching, but it was this version of Black fatherhood that was educated, present, emotionally available, but also had some joy mixed in there too. And it was very rare. And I think even though we're going through the list of TV dads, I think it's going to be really hard for someone to replicate that type of impact.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to some non-problematic people. Let's talk about our number one picks. And I will go first. Okay, so number 1, you mentioned it before already. Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, played by the late, great James Avery. To me, he is kind of penultimate TV dad, and here's why. He already was the father of 3 children and eventually 4 when little Nikki was born, but Hillary, Carlton, and Ashley. He was a loving husband to Vivian, even after that drastic change after season 3. He had a full household, a demanding career as a lawyer, then judge, and then Will shows up. And it's like, Will is this kid from West Philadelphia who is full of energy, who stays tap dancing on Uncle Phil's last nerve on a regular basis. He shows up at his home. And to be honest with you, Uncle Phil could have kept it like strictly transactional. He could have treated him like you're a house guest, and as soon as you graduate from high school, you're on your own. He could have not been as warm, as kind, or inviting to Will. But he opened his home and his heart to this, I don't know if I would call Will troubled. Will was just
rambunctious.
There we go. That's a better word. Yes. Yes. There was something, the word free comes to mind, but not necessarily in a good way, of like, he needs to rein it in. Like he needed the guardrails. And so Phil,
he needed guidance.
Yes. And Phil came in and was the guardrails for Will. And I think that that's really what he needed. And so, of course, you talked about that, scene where, Will is, I had 14 birthdays without this, like, and, Will is screaming about being disappointed by his father again. Now, in that episode, something that we don't talk about, we always focus on that last scene, but earlier in the, because me and my sister actually reviewed Fresh Prince of Bel-Air together earlier in season 1 of the podcast. And so we watched that whole episode. And so earlier in the episode, Uncle Phil is warning Will about not getting his hopes up. And Will gets mad because he's like, hey, why are you trying to stop me from leaning into this opportunity that I've been hoping for? And Uncle Phil is like, this man is going to disappoint you again. And so here we have Will in this moment recognizing that Uncle Phil was right. And instead of saying, I told you so, he embraces Will. And he embraces him. He knocks the hat off. He is just so warm and kind. I feel like a hug from Uncle Phil would be just so warm and loving.
Because he means it. Like he brings you in. Like he don't hug everybody. He brings you in. Like you earned this hug. Like this is it's what you've been waiting for, right? You want that approval, and Will needed that approval.
Yes, absolutely. And I think my understanding is that James Avery, who plays Uncle Phil, really is a big part of why Will is the actor that he is today. And so we can, be grateful for that, because James Avery is, real actor, that came up acting and imparted a lot of that wisdom onto Will Smith, who was in a lot of ways similar to his own character, this rambunctious rapper, turned actor that kind of got thrust into a show, didn't know what he was doing. And in a similar way to Uncle Phil, James Avery kind of helped provide some guardrails and guidance for the real Will Smith, which I think it's lovely to see that and to see that influence. So I thought James Avery brought so much to the role. He was stern when he needed to be. He was also funny. He knew how to be the butt of a joke, which I appreciate too. And he genuinely loved his family. Similarly to Carl Winslow, there's an episode where James Avery has to get on is it police officers? Something happens involving they get arrested for something.
Yes.
Yes. And he has to go in there and throw his weight around as a judge. And it's like, we love a dad who stands up for their family. And I think he chose this balance of I'm going to be stern with you when you're wrong, but when I need to back you up, I'm going to be there and back you up too. I also love that he threw Jazz out. I think he was right, and that Jazz was a menace. Um, but yeah, I think Uncle Phil really shows us what it looks like when a man chooses to step up and be a father figure to a child who is not biologically his. And like I said, he shows up, but he's not always happy about it. But the important part is that he does show up. So rest in peace to James Avery.
Yes,
Love a
definitely
good
rest in
TV
peace to
dad.
James. Yes, one of
Yes.
the one of the best.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Terrance, tell us your number one pick.
So my number one, I think, is going to be controversial because you've already mentioned that you hated the show. But my number
Okay.
one is Randall Pearson, aka Sterling K. Brown. I think he
I
is
don't disagree
one.
with you. He is a redeemable character in that show.
He's the reason why I truly kept watching the show.
Okay.
I think Randall Pearson is one of the greatest characters in TV. Period, not just TV dads, because of his layers. Right, the portrayal of that character, his love for his wife, and I, man, once again, I was ill prepared because I cannot remember her name, but she was, I
Rebecca.
think, the
No,
the
Rebecca.
the
No. Rebecca was the mom. Was
yes,
it?
I cannot remember her name.
We just talked about this lady
The common
on the TV
denominator with
moms.
the great black fathers was these iconic and great wives and mothers, right? Like all of them had, every single person on my list had an amazing partner, right? It was a
Yes.
whole household. Like, so all of his flaws, like Randall Pearson was like this neurotic, insecure, like he hid his insecurities so well, like through his strength, through his kind of physique. Like he always, walked with his chest out, but you could tell he was hurting. Like he told us he was hurting. Like we got to
Yeah.
see all of that play out, but at the same time he loved his family down. Like he was there, like everything he did was to make sure his family was okay. And he took some big swings, right? He took some big swings, and I think it was all an effort to show his children it could be done, right? They adopted the young girl, and he just poured everything into her that he wanted to be poured into him, because of his childhood, because of how he thought he fit in that family. He structured his family around that, right? He wanted to be authentically black, although he was raised by a white family, right? He like, and that was one of his insecurities. Like, even though he really was, he still felt a certain way because he didn't feel like he came from where everybody else came from. Finding his father, right? Like that completed him, which was one of the greatest story arcs, I think, in television history. It will never get talked about as much as it needs to get talked about. But just him as a character, also him on Paradise, Xavier Collins, like that, he did everything. He, I just love him as an actor, and he chooses his roles very wisely. But like Randall Pearson to me is just, I feel him. Like I felt like I was his character. Like I felt a lot of the emotions he felt. I felt it as a father. I felt it as a husband, as a black man. I felt a lot of those things that he went through, and that's why he resonated so much with me. But he just carried himself a certain way. He did so much for his family to make sure that they were okay. And when he couldn't, like, that was the end of him, right? Like, I think he ran for office, or was it
He
his wife
did.
who ran for office?
No, it was him.
And when he lost, though, like it was just like, what do I do? Or when he lost his job, it's like he felt incomplete. Like he just didn't feel whole when he quit his job. Like I understand that. Like I understand that so much as a man, understand like, man, if I can't do this, you know, one of the flaws I think was, and I hated the writing when him and his wife started arguing about silly. Like it was like the dumbest thing that they had these like almost like I want to say they did get a divorce or they might like or they were very close to towards the end like it
Mm,
was it was so poorly written where they would not button heads. I can't remember why. When she
huh.
wanted to like teach or she wanted to be a dance teacher or something like that. Like and she ended
My
up
under
opening up her own.
She did. My understanding, if I'm, and I watched this years ago, and I try to forget most of it, but I really, I will say that his
Beth,
wife's name
that was
was
her name.
Beth.
Yes,
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 I
yes. I
will say
just
that.
came to me.
Yes, Randall and Beth were really the bright spots of the show for me. If they had their own show, I would totally watch it. It's like everybody else that annoyed the bejesus out of me. But
Yes.
if we're if we're talking specifically about them being in disagreement, for whatever reason, it feels more like it was more of the middle of the season for me. There was one time specifically where around the time that he was trying to run for office or trying to figure out what to do with his career after he quit his job after they sent him payers, that he was allergic
Mhm.
to. And she's like, how are you going to run for office between your anxiety attacks or something along those lines? And I was like, ugh, yikes.
Mhm.
But I felt like the love in that relationship felt so real.
Mhm.
I felt like the show covered the issue of like transracial adoption, of like being adopted by a family who doesn't understand you. It talked
Mhm.
about the pressure that Randall felt. You talked about how he hid that he was struggling or like the anxiety issues that he was having. It really was about him trying to overcompensate for the fact that he didn't feel whole or that he was in a family that couldn't fully understand him or that he didn't know his biological parents. I also love that he eventually came to learn about his biological mother, even though she had passed away later.
Mhm.
But I agree, and I think Randall is deserving to be on your list, even though I have very mixed feelings about the show itself. And love Sterling K. Brown. I love that there's an element of Sterling's acting that just feels so real. And I feel like
Yes.
that's the point of acting, right? Is to make it feel real, but there's something that feels really genuine about when Sterling K. Brown does it. And I love that one of the things that he does in his roles, that if he has a partner in the role, he always advocates for it to be a black woman or for it to be a darker skinned black woman. And, he's married to a beautiful actress whose name escapes me right now. Ryan Michelle something?
Yes. Bathe, I think that's her
It's,
last
I
name.
don't know how to pronounce the last name, but yes, I just love that about him. I totally understand why he's number one on your list. I thought you were going to say Jack, and I was like, that alcoholic.
No. No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. No, I was
Yep.
not a big fan of him as a character. And once again, I don't think it was just the writing. Like I think they just created these conflicts to feel like they to have a reason,
Mm-hmm.
like for the show itself. Was they just would create these conflicts, and they were always so poorly written, right? Like they really were. Not the show as a whole, just some of the conflicts that they would just throw
Mm-hmm.
in there. It was like, oh, we have to. There has to be an arc like
Uh-huh.
that to push some of these characters in the direction we want them to go. Like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like Dan Fogelman had a vision, and he knew the start point, he knew the end point, and like somewhere in the middle, it just got murky. Right?
Yeah,
It just
I can
got
see
really
that.
murky. But the characters, I really did enjoy the characters, and I just think Randall Pearson was just like I felt like all of the anxiety, like some of those panic attacks, like I've
Mm-hmm.
had those moments,
Mm-hmm.
not for the reasons he may have had the moments,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just like he was so relatable as a father, as a husband. Like I just really resonated with his character, with him as an actor, and just knowing that he would do anything. Like he like at the end of the day, no matter what he was doing, it was always about pushing the family forward, right?
Yeah.
Like I felt that whether it be the overarching family, his brothers and sisters who were a mess, and his wife and his children, whether natural or adopted.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I like that choice. Yeah. Okay. Cool beans. Well, we made it all the way through all of our list. Yeah, I think we came away with some iconic dads. Our lists were a little varied, but it looks like we did have some overlap. We both had Philip Banks on the list as well as Heathcliff Huxtable. Otherwise, our lists were quite different. So I like that. All right. Well, of course, we got to give some flowers to the dads who didn't make the list. Terrance, do you have any honorable mentions you want to bring up?
So Carl Winslow was very close to
Mm-hmm.
making my list. He was the teddy bear, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're right. Looking back on it, there's no reason why Steve Urkel should ever been in his house the way he was obsessed with his daughter. Like it'd be different if
Exactly.
it was like, oh, the next door neighbor, but that's my daughter. Like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
doing? Like you, even if I liked you as a human, and maybe that's the old school in me. No, no,
Yeah.
you're not dating my daughter. And even if you do, I'm still gonna act like I hate you because that's my daughter, right? That's my girl. That's my little
Yeah.
girl. I changed her diapers. Get out of here. Um, trying to think of others because we didn't limit this to black dads. There were some dads
Okay.
who did not make my list. God, I just drew a blank on his name. Michael Gross played it on Family Ties. I
Okay.
always look Michael P. Keaton's father. I can't remember. Uh, or Alex P. Keaton's father. Maybe his name was Michael. I don't remember. But the dad on Family Ties, I thought like that was a great show, a very underrated show that not many people talk about these days. One of the better family sitcoms that we had back in the 80s. I really just love that whole family dynamic in dealing with, three children, two girls, and any father of little girls. I feel a soft spot in my heart for because it ain't easy being the dad of
Yeah.
a young growing woman who's 10 going thinking she's like 25 already. So it's just not easy. And there was one more, and it was Alan Alan Thick. Is that his name?
Okay.
Robin Thicke's
Uh-huh.
character?
Uh-huh.
Growing
Yes, that's
Pains.
right.
There you go. I just thought one. I just thought he was great. I love that show, and once again, he was always there, right? Like that's the overarching theme of all of these shows. And I looked up some lists to remember names, and some of these lists just had awful fathers on there.
Yes,
like
agreed.
like it was
Al
just like,
Bundy, like, are you kidding?
I don't even think he was a father. He was just a guy who had
He was
kids. Like,
there. He was a
yeah,
lump on a couch.
yes, he was a guy, but he did beat up Kelly's boyfriends. I do remember that. Anytime a boy came over there, he would always beat them up. This was his only redeeming quality, is that he would beat them up, like most fathers want to do. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
Okay, nice. Okay, well, the Michael Gross, the character he played was Stephen Keaton.
Stephen Keaton. Okay.
Yes. Let me see. And I'm trying to think of see what Alan Thicke's character's name was.
I just remember Michael
Known
C.
for his role as Dr. Jason Seaver.
Jason Seaver.
Yeah. On Growing Pains. Yeah, those are two shows that I didn't really watch. They're kind of before my time a little bit, but they are on a bunch of lists, so I understand. I have a long list of honorable mentions, so I'm just going to go through them and name them. Michael Kyle from My Wife and Kids, played by Damon Wayans. Two of the characters are played by John Witherspoon. We have Pops from the Wayans brothers, who not necessarily the best dad, but super fun.
Yeah,
We
he
also
was
have
funny.
John Witherspoon as Robert Freeman, aka Granddad from the Boondocks, who was a grandfather taking care of his children, which is something that, for a lot of people, they are raised by their grandparents. But I think to be a single grandfather is pretty rare. So Again, he wasn't always the best, but I enjoyed him. Very fun. Andre Johnson, of course, made my list from Blackish, played by Anthony Anderson. Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets World, played by William Daniels, who, again, was not biologically related to any of the children on the show. I actually have a little gripe with Mr. Feeney a little bit. I reviewed the show back in the day, like season 1 of the podcast. I think it is extremely weird that every time the kids graduated to a next level, that he followed them in his career. Like they start out the show maybe in middle school, and then when they go to high school, he gets a job at the high school, and then when they go to college, he gets a job at the college, and I'm like, that's a little weird. Like,
It's Hollywood magic. That's
yeah,
Hollywood magic.
a little strange, yeah. But James Evans Sr. from Good Times, played by John Amos, I think he was a decent dad for that time period. Ray Campbell from Sister Sister, played by Tim Reed. Quite a bit of a cornball, but a decent dad. And then finally, Julius Rock from Everybody Hates Chris, played by Terry Crews, who could use some finessing, but like really loved his family. So those were a bunch of other TV dads that came to mind for me. But
For sure. You can't go wrong.
didn't quite
with
make the
any of
list.
those dads.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, Terrance, before we get out of here, can you tell the people one more time where they can find you and what you got coming up?
All right. Once again, my name is T, aka your boy T. I have the YouTube channels. Have you seen that with T? I want to say next week is a big week. I think Supergirl comes out next week.
Oh, nice.
Really excited about that. I think it comes out next week. I could be wrong. But I do movie shorts, just kind of doing a quick movie review. Should you go see this? Is it worth paying your money for or worth waiting for streaming? And then my wrestling channel, The Island of Relevancy, every Wednesday night. I want to say it's 7 Eastern because I'm on Mountain Time. It's usually 5 my time, 7 Eastern. We go about 2 hours recapping the week in wrestling. And yeah, that's what I got going on.
All right. I love that. Again, the links to find him are going to be below in the description box. Well, all right, everyone. That's a wrap on our top 5 TV dads. I want to thank T so much for coming back to the Sub Media Reviews platform. I think we had a really good conversation. It was nice to go through the list and talk about our favorite TV dads today. So I'm so glad we got to do this together, and I can't wait to invite you back to have more interesting conversations about all of our favorite media topics. And of course, to those of you who are watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us during the off season. You know, season 2 wrapped up, and I am enjoying being able to rest and not feel like I have to always be on my grind to get out these videos. So I appreciate your patience as we are on hiatus. So I'm going to keep some content going in the off season, and I appreciate every single one of you who are hanging out and waiting for season 3. Okay. So that's going to kick off in October. We're going to come back with a full slate of content to usher in the spooky season, and I'm really excited about that. So make sure you're subscribed and that you have your notifications turned on, because you don't want to miss what we have planned. But before season 3 happens, I have something very special coming in July. I'm putting together my very first video essay. So it's a topic that I haven't seen anyone cover in the way that I'm going to be covering it. So I think that's exciting and terrifying. So I can't wait to share it with you all. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be coming in July. As always, I'm Kiara with Sub Media Reviews, and tell us your top 5 dads. Put them down in the comments below. Let us know if any of our top 5 made it to your list. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.